We did it. We've teamed up, and together we've created something special. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network, and we're changing the game. We're covering Idaho high school sports in a way that you haven't seen before. Together, we'll be providing weekly breakdowns and recaps while helping uncover Idaho's top talents at a deeper level. Trust us, you want to be part of this. Boise Sports Talk, EBC Media, and the Gametime Guru bring you Gym Session. Let's get to work. What's up, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of Gym Session. My name is Shane Larson, also known as the Gametime Guru. This is take 2 of the podcast, but you guys don't know what happened before. So we're going to do take 2 because that's what AJ and I do. We have some fun with it. I'm alongside AJ Niebergall from EBC Media. Excited to have him with us. We've got a lot to talk about today. We've got the state playoffs on the horizon, but the district championship is this week, and we've got a lot of important matchups in week 9 that we're going to be bringing your way to talk about because it's a lot of win and ends, if you will. But we want to talk about some of the matchups from last week and then what we can expect this week, who we got for the district championship, and then what the state playoffs could potentially be. I mean, we've got some teams that could be making it into the state playoffs that we may not have expected going into this season, or we may have expected it and maybe the general public did not. So it's going to be pretty exciting to talk about. I want to just let you guys know, if you guys support us and you roll with us and you're following us, but you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. Hit that subscribe button. Let us know. Make sure to hit the bell as well so you can get the notifications on YouTube. But if you subscribe to our channel on YouTube, we're going to be providing more and more content. I'm also going to be building out a website and trying to get some more centralized information there as well. But we're trying to continue to grow this brand and this content for you guys. The YouTube channel is going to be vital to that. We want to make sure that this is, a go-to place for some of the media and analysis and highlights and so forth for high school sports around the state of Idaho. So hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and give us a follow and share with your friends and family. And then again, if you're not following us on Instagram, I don't know what you're doing. You're missing out. When we did the take 1 of this podcast, I said this, but shout out to the team. AJ, Ty, Cherry, myself, Meyer, Sam Buffington, D Wise. I mean, we've got every content creator who we got XDS. Man, I can't even name them all. Gen X.
It's growing. We're building, man. We have a ton of them. We got more coming on. It's awesome what's happening, man. Idaho Underground Sports Network. It's awesome.
It's truly a network. That's exactly what we wanted to do when we started this entire thing, was build a network. And AJ, I'd say we've started that, and we appreciate those who have joined on and been part of this whole entire journey with us. If you guys want to join the network, you're a content creator and you think that you can provide value here, we want to work with you guys. So hit us up with a DM, and we'll chat with you guys about the potential opportunities that we have as we continue to grow this business and this network. So as we get into last week's stuff, AJ, this is where I'm excited to talk about Nampa. We've talked about Nampa this whole season being last year's Skyview. Granted, I would say that they're a step higher than that because they've actually beaten some of the top dogs, and they are in the discussion for the state playoffs. And last week, they went and wrecked the party for Mountain View on Mountain View's senior night, and they took them down. You were there. We weren't there. I was working, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to cover the game, but I got to catch all the highlights from you. So talk to us about what you saw from Nampa with the monsters of Carrillo, Navarro, and Peyton Gunter, and then their whole offensive line, their defensive line. They're just a bunch of dogs, no pun intended. Their coaching staff all the way down has really set that culture, showing people that they're not scared of anybody. And you kind of know their game plan, and they don't care if you know their game plan. They're going to hand the ball off to Carrillo, and Navarro's going to get the job done through the air as well as on his feet, because he can also scramble. So they don't care what you know. They're just going to go right at you. So talk to me about what you saw last week with Nampa and Mountain View. Listen,
Nampa ruined Owyhee's homecoming. They ruined Kuna's season and flipped that on its head. And with that beat down at Nampa, and then they go to Mountain View where nobody expected them to win. Meyer, I think, picked them to win because no one else did. And listen, they were dominant at Mountain View, and Mountain View could not move the ball. Listen, Justin McGee at running back was a man, and then he got hurt, and then Mountain View was over. Like, guys couldn't get open. Dawson Wall was having trouble, putting the ball where it needed to be, but it was all Nampa's defense. Ethan, I'm going to say this last name wrong, Ethan Kinchiol, At linebacker number 52 was everywhere. You know, their secondary was super impressive, big interceptions. But let's talk about Daniel Carrillo, who's going to be our offensive player of the year. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a surprise. He reminds me of Antonio Fafita, our player of the year last year from Skyview. Same type of dog, built different. Fafita was just a beast physically. Carrillo is 5'6", 165 pounds, squats 505 pounds. Always putting in the extra work. He's got videos out there that'll blow your mind. But Carrillo was dominant, man. 200 plus yards, 3 touchdowns against that linebacking core, and that front seven of Mountain View was unbelievable. And it was big run after big run. He would fight through tackles to get a first down on a third down to extend a drive. Gabe Navarro was extending drives with his legs, making plays outside the pocket. Dante Avgian was making plays. Number 23, that receiver. Everybody stepped up. For me, this game came down to one play, and it showed me who Nampa was. They've got the ball late. They're driving, and they need a first down to kind of run clock. And I believe it was 2nd and 10, and they do a quick hitter to Dante Avgian. Navarro steps back and rifles him a little 3-yard hitch. It hits Avgian right square in the chest, and he misses it, and it bounces off incomplete. And it was a big play because he would have caught it and ran and potentially got the first down to close the door. The very next play, I'm on the Nampa sidelines, and I hear the coaches yelling, "You're good, you're good. You're good. We need you. We still need you. Keep your head up." Very next play, they go back to him, essentially the same play. He catches it, first down, game, set, match. They trusted their guy. They told him to keep his head off. It's that bulldog, that Nampa bulldog, pun intended, mentality. And they closed the door. And it was great to see. It was great to see that type of coaching. It was great to see that type of confidence being instilled in their players. And that's why they are the first team in however long we can talk about to crack the top 4. Hey, Nampa, everyone's been telling you to go back to 4A. No, everyone else should go to 4A. Nampa is here to stay. They're coached well. They've got the guys. They've got the attitude. That's not a matchup I want if I'm going into the playoffs. I'm excited to see what Nampa can do moving forward, and if they can make some noise in the 5A state tournament, if they can get in, which they have a very favorable matchup this week against, I believe, Centennial. Good luck to the Patriots. Nampa's rolling, Shane, and they were impressive. Peyton Gunter, a guy you mentioned, Division I football player. Mountain View comes out. They score a touchdown early. It's 14-7. They get the ball back. They're driving again to tie the game. They, I think Justin McGee has a 50-yard run down to the 20. Peyton Gunter interception from the DN position. Very next play, boom, Nampa goes and scores. And just the big players made big plays when they needed to. And Nampa just looked like they knew they were going to win the game. And they dominated Mountain View. They dominated them.
It's interesting how physical Nampa is, and they're just not scared of anybody. That's the coolest part about it. And that's one thing to have that mentality, right? You see a lot of teams that aren't scared of anybody, right? But can you execute? And they do both. They're not scared of anybody, and they'll come out and execute. And even if we flash back to the Owyhee game for homecoming that I was covering, you got there near the end of the game. I mean, it was a very run-heavy game, and some would argue Owyhee probably should have won that game. They had put themselves in a position to win that. But Nampa didn't care. They just came down and did their thing, and they kept fighting. And that's the coolest thing is they don't stop believing either. I mean, they hold each other accountable. One thing I loved about Carrillo, and I've mentioned this before, is his leadership. I saw him. I mean, I literally heard him because I was in the end zone when he did not get a favorable gain on a run, and he made sure his linemen knew that. And some would be like, "Holy crap!" But he was holding them accountable. And then so you'd be like, "Wow, what you just heard?" He was yelling at his linemen to do this, this, and this. He gets a touchdown on that same drive, and then one of his linemen got hurt on the touchdown run. And on the sideline, I mean, he's picking him up and he's talking to his linemen and stuff. So he's holding him accountable and still being a good teammate. His leadership is pretty solid, man. That team is full of just absolute studs, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do if and when they make the state playoffs. Because, like you said, they've got Centennial this week, If they win, they're in. Nampa's killing it. They're on a roll, and I wouldn't want to see them either. So talking about winning in, let's talk about some of these matchups real quick. First, I got to say, Boise's playing Valley View, and people were wondering why. So can we explain to the audience why Boise and Valley View are matching up, AJ? Because what we had heard was Valley View had an extra game in their schedule that they needed to fill in, and I don't think Boise can qualify for state, and so they matched them up with Valley View. I'm not sure if that was, if there was anything that went deeper into that.
Nope. I think it's just, allowing the kids to play another game, which I love. Instead of, hey, your season's over, let's let the kids play. Like, let's let them end their season. And, that's what it's about, Shane. So I'm really happy that we were able to make that happen for Valley View, who Valley View has one of the top running backs, if not the top running back at the 4A level. I think his last name is Fox. He's been a monster all year. So Boise's going to have to show up if they're going to beat that 4A team, because Valley View has one of the best running backs in the state.
Totally. And just to give a little bit of context as well, the way that the divisions break down, the Foothills division has 6 teams and the River division has 7. So some people would be like, well, Boise has 2 wins and Timberline's 0-8, right? Like, why are they getting to play against Owyhee on Thursday in week 9? It's because Timberline finished last, but there was 6 teams. Boise also finished last, and they were 7th. So they were kind of that odd team left out where there's 6 teams on each that match up across from each other on both divisions. Unfortunately, with Boise being that 7th team that's on that division, that's why they had to kind of make an extra game out of that, and that's why they got Valley View on there. So there's a little confusion there in regards to the division setup, but one has 7, one has 6, so only 6 can play each other. Obviously, the math doesn't add up. So whoever has that 7th spot, unfortunately, that's the reason why. Let's go through. I'm looking here at our breakdowns. If you guys go onto our Instagram page, you'll see that we posted this earlier this week on our page for the district matchups. We talked about Centennial at Nampa winning in. What do you expect from this one besides Nampa winning? Do we expect Centennial to put up a fight in this one, or do you think they're kind of folding, getting ready for winter sports at this point?
Yeah, I think Carrillo has another 200-plus yard game. I think he dominates. I think they get up big early, and then I think I think they rest those guys probably in the second half. I mean, it's playoffs is different. Anything can happen. Centennial's got some guys. Shout out to Brad Ames and for Brees Natorum and those guys. But Nampa's going to come in. They're going to run the ball. They're going to do what they want. Navarro's going to make plays, and I suspect that one to be done by halftime.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Carrillo ends up with 3 touchdowns in the first half or more. Yeah. I'm not joking either, because that's how they finish off their drives.
Yeah.
Now going over to Borah and Rocky. Rocky had themselves a solid comeback. Get out of that Meridian, get that bad taste out of your mouth. Came down, laid the smack down last week, and we kind of expected that. They were just like, okay, let's get back on the winning track before we get to this. Borah's coming into town. The situation with Borah is interesting because they're 4-4, currently sitting in 4th in the River Division. And so you guys all know it's all based on max preps and their rankings. So Borah needs a win. They need a win if they even want to be in the discussion to be able to get into the state tournament, because the SIC, the way that we understand it, gets 6 teams in there with a potential additional 2 that come in there. So obviously Eagle and Meridian auto bids that are going in there. And then you've got your next place is your 3rd and 4th place teams that obviously get in. And then there's 2 more and a potential for 2 others depending on your record. So Borah sort of holds the same situation as Owyhee. Owyhee's sitting here hoping Borah loses and that Owyhee wins so that they can have a better record, because Borah holds the tiebreaker on Owyhee. There's a lot of things that go into play, but Borah coming into Rocky, they've got to get a win to even be in the discussion. Let's talk about that. Do you, AJ, expect, because Rocky basically has a shot, they're getting in, but what it now comes down to is seeding. Do you think Rocky just rolls over them, or do you see Rushton coming in there and just making it a dogfight?
No, I think Rocky should worry about staying healthy, because Parker Rushton will hurt you. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to try and run the ball. That's what they do. And that front 7 of Rocky, there's going to be some big hits. Hopefully everybody stays healthy. what this really comes, I think Rocky beats them. I think it's going to be a 24-7 or a 31-14 type game. But I think that the conversation is Owyhee and Borah, like you said, because I believe, and I was just looking on my phone, I believe the Max Preps rankings are already set. They're set before districts. If I'm correct, and I'm looking at them now, I'm trying to
they
find
have Owyhee at 10th and Borah at 15th.
See, so that's ridiculous. Like, because now Borah, who beat Owyhee, they finished higher in their division. Borah has to play Rocky, and Owyhee has to play Timberline to get in. Essentially, is what we're talking about. That is the problem. I woke up this morning. No, excuse me. Before I went to bed last night at 1 a.m., Coach Buff, shout out Coach Buff, up north, Lake City's finest, sends me the Max Preps volleyball rankings. And I'm not going to get into volleyball right now, but Eagle, who's undefeated, and I've said all year, they're 1 or 2 all year. They're 5th. They're undefeated in the biggest league in the state, and they're 5th in the Max Preps rankings. And the other 4 teams in front of them look like they're going to state. So Eagle not only is going to be a visitor in their first game, they're going to, if they win, have to play the top team in the tournament. Don't get me started with Max Preps. Okay, I know Max Preps is nationwide. They do their thing, whatever. We need a change. That's what I'll say about that. And now I feel for Borah. I hadn't checked the Max Preps rankings. What you just told me has got me absolutely heated for Borah. If I'm Borah, I am so pissed off because Owyhee at home against Timberline wins. So now Borah's like, well, we lose in that large bid to a team that we finished higher than and beat. And we have to play Rocky?
Yeah, and people are, if you're not, it's very confusing. And we're all still trying to make sense of it as well. I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to come in and win. But like Borah, Owyhee, and Kuna all finished with the same record and the same conference record, just as an FYI, 2-4 in conference for all of them. 4-4 overall, 2-4 in conference. But Borah finished ahead of them. They own the tiebreaker over Owyhee, and now they get the tougher matchup. It is extremely difficult to try to bring the context there. There's not a lot of it. There's no sense in it. I feel for Borah. They've had a solid season, you know, ups and downs. Certain teams they play really well against, other teams, depending on the matchup, they struggle with, and they've got a tough one against Rocky. Rocky's looking to, I think that loss to Meridian really helped Rocky because it shook them and said, okay, we're beatable, but not by much. So we can steamroll teams. So they're getting Rocky at a tough time to get Rocky 2 weeks after a loss, who's now on the roll, and they're like, okay, they've got a mission to complete. And I think it's a tough one for Borah. Any other things to say on that one?
I'm looking at it right now, and Lewiston is ahead of Post Falls. Post Falls is winning that league and beat Lewiston. Okay. Also, Cuna's ahead of Borah. Kuna beat Borah. I see that. It doesn't make much sense. So Borah won't get in if Kuna loses, because Kuna will be there. Lewiston is 9, and Lewiston Borah's not getting in unless they beat Rocky, which is unbelievable, Shane. Like, I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse because I think everyone can tell that it's extremely frustrating. I'm looking at Borah's schedule also. I do want to throw this out here. Borah did have to play. No, they didn't. Borah or Owyhee did not play Meridian or Rocky this year. So that does hurt Borah. But the fact of the matter is that Borah beat Owyhee, and they're 15th, and Owyhee's 10th. So I'm not sure.
It's a tough situation all around. You mentioned Kuna. Kuna's got a big game against Middleton this week. Big game. That's a huge game. Middleton, as I predicted, won out after they got smacked. I mean, obliterated by Meridian earlier in the season. That was that Saturday game after the smoke had canceled the Friday night. Middleton is rolling. I think they benefited from a very weak schedule after that Meridian game. I mean, a lot of teams. I mean, there's 2 elite teams in Meridian and Rocky, and then there's the rest, right? There's some great teams, but they're not elite. And then there's some really, poor teams that are here in this conference this year. And Middleton's rolling. They've done what they were asked to do, and that's win games against the teams they're supposed to beat. Kuna's going over there with a chance. Again, they're sort of like Borah and Owyhee. Like they've got to win to potentially get in there. Does that win push Middleton down? Does that win jump Owyhee? Or even I think, are they ahead of Borah? No, Kuna is one ahead of Borah. So Kuna has to bank on Owyhee losing, which would be very tough for Owyhee to do. And they've also got to bank on Borah potentially losing so that nothing happens there. And then they have to also bank on Middleton dropping enough in the rankings because Middleton would still have a better record, would they not?
I think the rankings are set.
So that's it. So win.
It's it. Like Borah's not getting in. Like that's unless they beat Rocky, they're not getting in. So for me, that's a freaking joke.
So Owyhee, Borah, and Kuna. Let's play devil's advocate here and just kind of throw it out for conversation's sake. Let's assume they all win. Owyhee beats Timberline, Borah beats Rocky, and Kuna beats Middleton. Okay. Are they all in and all those guys is Rocky out?
No, because Middleton's in because they're ranked so high. Middleton's in. Middleton can lose and be in. They're 7th. So Middleton is going to the state tournament. Nampa is going to the state tournament if they lose to Centennial because of how high that's why districts not mattering is also is clown town. It's unbelievable. It's the same as volleyball right now. Districts don't matter. It doesn't matter what you do in districts. What do you mean? You're playing head to head against all these teams again at the end of the season, closest to the state tournament. What do you mean it doesn't matter? It absolutely matters more than anything else should matter. It's whatever. But
so that's the key. That's the kicker I want everybody to understand. That's what so you're hearing us talk right now. What AJ just said answers all the questions. Just so you're understanding, Max Preps has set their standings, their records right now. This is where they're at, regardless of what happens this week. So that means that whatever happens, then why do we say win and in, AJ? That's the question that the people want to know. Why are we saying if you win, you're in, if it doesn't matter?
But it does, because if you win your game, like if Centennial wins, they are in the state tournament, and then you go, all right, who's the highest? So like if let's see who else plays. If Borah beats Rocky, Borah is in because they won that. These are play-in games. The Owyhee Timberline one is not because they both finished 6th. But the Max Preps rankings matter. It looks like Owyhee, if they win, will get in as well. Because the North has 2 teams. Unless Lewiston loses to Coeur d'Alene, which I think those two play. If Lewiston loses to Coeur d'Alene, it's going to potentially eliminate Owyhee. Owyhee needs Lewiston to beat Coeur d'Alene. We could go through this all day, but what you're saying, Shane, is if you win, you are in, and then if you lose and you are if you're Owyhee and you are one of the highest remaining seeds for there's 2 at-large bids.
Yeah, 2 at-large bids that come out.
So if you lose and you're still one of the 2 highest ranked teams on this ranking, like Middleton, or if Mountain View loses, they're in. If Rocky loses, they're in. Meridian's already in. Eagle's already in. Rocky's in, even if they lose, but that will be an at-large bid. I believe that's an at-large bid. So that's where I don't understand. Like there's 6 teams from the West. Is that the 6 teams that win this week? 5 teams that win plus Eagle Meridian, which one will lose? Do you go 1 through 6 depending on that, and then the at-large bids? Like if Rocky loses, do they get the first at-large? I'm not sure how that works. That's something we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper into. But I know that this is not it. This is not it. Hey. Shout out to Idaho Underground Sports Network. Let us do it. Let us help.
It's a bad math problem, man. It's a bad math problem. Very bad math problem. And it's extremely difficult to try to make sense of. But that's why Max Preps, it makes it very confusing, as you guys know. So some games are winning in, and then it all depends on like where you're seated at with Max Preps. It should just be this week should just matter. You base it off of your rankings. You have a district championship, and the rest of them are bracketed down, and then you kind of find out. Like it's just so odd how they have to make it so difficult. Like nobody really knows. But at the end of the day, for the teams that know they're kind of in the conversation, those games are important to win. So go and take care of business and see what happens after that. Let the dominoes fall. So let's talk about Eagle and Meridian District Championship, AJ. We've gotten through the bad math problem, and we'll clear that up more and more as like next week goes on, and we'll talk to more people to try to get all the clarification. So next week's episode, we're going to be previewing everything for state for you guys, so that you guys can know what to expect going into the state playoffs and who's got who and everything. But Meridian and Eagle, Meridian, those dudes are on absolute fire right now. That defensive front and that defense, like the whole defense, the defensive backs are doing great. The secondary is playing amazing football right now, but that front seven, front eight really is just unstoppable. Like you can't stop them. Offense is rolling. They're playing very physical. And then you got Eagle, who is on a roll right now, right? The Mustangs are rolling. They have benefited from some weaker teams, but they have beat teams the likes of Nampa. They've beaten those guys. Like, so the dudes that we were just talking about, Eagle has proven that they can get rolling right now. The question is, are they rolling enough to beat Meridian? Because I've said it before, AJ, we've got two elite teams in Meridian and Rocky, and it seems like the guys below them are just a tier below, man. It's just like college football. Sometimes you get two elite teams and the rest are great, but like they're just not there. Do you think Eagle's there, or do you think Meridian's just two levels above?
Well, snowball off your college football comment, the BCS system didn't work. We changed it. So why are we doing it here? Anyway, yes, I agree with you, Shane, on all fronts. But is Eagle there? We're going to find out. Eagle played Meridian and Rocky early in the year. They for sure have gotten better. Their defensive front seven, which they said at the start of the year was going to be their biggest plus, looks like that's what it is. I don't know if Kanan Sanchez is going to be back from Meridian. I know he was recently cleared. I don't know if they're going to wait to state to bring him back or what. But I will tell you this game is extremely relevant, and here's why. The loser is going to be on the same side of the bracket as Rocky Mountain, and along with, I believe, Rigby or Highland. One of those is going to be Post Falls, Rocky, Rigby or Highland, and whoever loses this game. So you don't want to lose this game. You want to be in the other part of the bracket where you're going to have to beat Rigby or Highland. Probably is going to be your toughest game, and then you get to go to the ship. So do I think Eagle can go into Meridian and win? Yes, I do think Eagle. I think they've got, when you have Ian Duarte on your team, like what Duarte did to Mountain View, I heard Duarte touched the ball the first two times against Mountain View, scored the first two times, and had 150 yards. The first two times he touched the ball. You can't let that happen. You can't let one of the best receivers, if possibly the best receiver in Idaho, beat you, especially when their passing game isn't elite. It's okay. But they're finding ways to get Duarte the ball. Yes, if Ian Duarte's on your team, you can get beat, period. He's a guy that could touch the ball 4 times, score 4 touchdowns, and have 300 yards, like he essentially did against Mountain View. Defensively, Seth Brock and Carter Davis are two of the sack leaders in the state. Mind you, Eagles guys play through every game. When you're beating Boise 23-13, you're playing the whole game. Yeah. That's different from Rocky, and that's different from Meridian and whatnot. So not to take anything away from those guys. Carter Davis just got a preferred walk-on to Stanford. Congratulations to him. Everybody knows how I feel about Church Boy Seth Brock. That's my boy. Really excited for him. I know there's some Boise State interest. Like, those guys can play. Mason Michael, Makita's back there. I mean, they've got guys that can make plays. Last time Meridian ran the ball down their throat with Byington and Del Rio. Do I see that happening again? Yes. And with the way the passing game is coming around, if they start to stop that, Acree and Freeze are going to get loose somewhere. Yeah. Like we saw against Rocky, and they pick and they choose and they just grind and they ground and pound and they take their shots, and that offense is finding a rhythm, and they're at home. And I'm not sure if Eagle is going to be able to make it a game. I think they will make it a game. I think this is going to be a very good football game. I'm taking Meridian. Like, I'm picking Meridian from here on out. I do not think Meridian is going to lose a game. Eagle is a team that, like I said, they lost to the two best teams in the state early. They have gotten better. They're feeling themselves right now. Like, they think they can beat them. We're going to find out. It's going to be fun. But that defense of Meridian, if you don't have multiple ways to get the ball in the end zone, good. They've given up 3 touchdowns all year, and one was at the halftime horn against Highland that was a questionable call. One was a Hail Mary with 1 second left against Rocky from the 50-yard line, and the other was after a muff punt, first drive of the year against Eagle, and Eagle ran it in from the 8-yard line, and it took them 4 plays to do it. So that defense is special, like potentially historically special. Eagle's going to have to find a way to score multiple times against this team because Meridian will put points on the board against Eagle at home.
Yeah.
Dude, it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of this going on. It's already started, and I'm hearing it from both sides, and I love it. Two different style of teams, 2 different types of people, 2 different everything.
Yeah.
And boosh, here we go.
I love the matchup. I historically have never really, it's always been a rival between Meridian and Eagle. See, Rocky didn't exist when I was in high school. So that school didn't get built till like 3 years after I graduated. And so it was always Eagle. Eagle was my like main rival, right? So that's just interesting to see those 2 colliding right now in a very important game. I will say this, Meridian, you guys have heard us before. We already talked about it. Like you guys got on us. You were frustrated. You felt some sort of way when we picked Rocky against you guys. I don't typically pick against Meridian. There's been 2 times in the last year where I picked against them where they proved me wrong, right? I'm not going to pick against Meridian this week. I think Meridian is on a whole different level. I hope their motivation stays the same because you've got, William, Reynolds, Gooley, Quarter. Like, can you name a better linebacking core? I mean, you could say that Rocky's got one too, which they do, and Mountain View does too. But no, you've got 4 studs that can. Here's the deal, man. As I was watching them, you got guys that can stop the run and guys who can get back in coverage. That is special as a linebacking core. You usually have some like linebackers that can stop the run. They know how to fill gaps. They know timing. They know how to get to certain places. They read the play quick enough to get to a gap before a pulling tackle's coming in. They can get things done, but you never really see guys that can do both, like fill the gaps and then back up in coverage and try to fill some space too. Oh my gosh, dude. Like, how many interceptions does Reynolds have this year? Like, him alone, and William, and like, dude, these guys, and Quarter, like, they're getting their hands on passes, they're getting and their stuff in the run. That is extremely difficult to beat. I don't think Meridian loses another game. They have the mentality too, AJ. You can see it. At least some of them, right? The majority of those players have the right mentality where it's like they know they're special, but they're humble yet very confident in what they're able to do. They're here to show people that, like, okay, it's been in the works the last couple of years that we've been working towards this, and now you're seeing a unit that is so cohesive. It's scary. It is super. That speaks to exactly what you just said. Giving up 3 touchdowns, like it's because they've been together for so long, and there's something that goes along with that. Like, when you've got leadership on that team like that, man, good luck for the rest of the teams meeting them. They're on a freaking they're a train, and if you don't get out of the way, they're just going to run you straight over. They're not stopping. So.
No, and you said it, and they've got a linebacker at safety and Landon Eason.
Yep.
He's a linebacker playing safety. And then you've got Jake Hartsoe and Corbin Meisner on the defensive line, who could both be linebackers with the way they move and their athleticism. Like, dude, they've got the guys, they've got the horses that they knock on wood have stayed healthy enough. And, I think if they can get through this Eagle game, they'll have another bye week to get healthy. And then they've got to win 3 games to go do it. And we both want them to do it because we're both Meridian guys. We think they can. This is their year, but you know how difficult it is to go undefeated. And that's why this week, if they were to lose a game, I think maybe it's this week to Eagle. The fact of the matter is, like, you've got to beat everybody anyway. Eagle can beat Meridian if Eagle plays well and gets creative and find ways to score, and Meridian turns the ball over and doesn't play well. And if there's penalties, that's why we play the game. Like, a lot of respect for the Mustang football team, but Meridian, you at this point, people got to show us that they can go outscore this defense.
Yeah. And I said the same. I thought Rocky's offense was going to be able to put up a little bit more of a fight against them. And I said that here on record. And I know I took some flack for it. Their defense just proved again, like, they bent quite a bit in that game. They bent quite a bit because Rocky had them on the ropes a couple of times and they didn't break. They showed up when they needed to show up. Get it 5-yard line. They're, first and goal, second and goal, and third and goal, and they're just getting stuffed at the line. Like, they bent but didn't break, and they proved that that's what they're there for. And so it's interesting you mentioned undefeated, right? My senior year, the football team lost one game, and it was to Eagle, but it was in the regular season. That catapulted them. 2 years later, they won state again, and they went undefeated that year. So one year they had one loss, the other year. So it can be done. We've seen it. It obviously can be done. It's just interesting because I remember watching those teams and because I still had friends that were still playing 2 years later and watching the difference, and it can be done. But I can also see how, in Rocky's situation, getting that loss can catapult you into a whole new mindset too. But it can be done. It's extremely difficult to go undefeated and win, but it can be done. And I actually believe that this Meridian team has the mentality and the leadership on all aspects, from the coaching staff all the way out to the players. Those players hold each other accountable, and that's what you want. So, and they stay level-headed for the majority of the time. I mean, it gets competitive and chippy out there, but they're pretty solid. And it's exciting to watch. So we'll be there covering Meridian and Eagle for you guys this week, getting you on the field coverage. One of the things we're going to be doing in this channel on YouTube is taking some of those highlights that we get on our Instagram stories and just kind of putting them into a video, because you know how Instagram works. You can download the story within 24 hours later, and we want to make sure that we have a list of highlights for some of the games. And so we might start putting those into a little highlight reel, package them up, put them on this channel so you guys can, come back and watch them even when they're, no longer on Instagram. So keep in mind that we got some things coming for the channel. We're excited for that. Anything else to say, AJ, as we get ready for this week? Because next week's going to be a fun one. As we start talking about state, before you head out to volleyball next week, we got to get a recording in because next week's going to be the fun one. But anything else to say? What should we be expecting this week?
No, I'm going to go through real quick these games. I think Mountain View Capital, I think where everybody's anticipating Mountain View in that one. Kuna at Middleton is going to be wild. I believe Meyer Media is going to be at that one. That's a toss-up. Borah at Rocky, Centennial at Nampa, and then Eagle, Meridian, and then Thursday, Timberline and Owyhee, which is, Owyhee is a must-win for Owyhee. So we've got it's going to be a fun week because, people are going to reach goals and tickets are going to be punched. And that's always exciting to see and, feel that vibe and be a part of it. Also, hearts are going to break. And so this is when it really gets, it's playoff time, Shane. It's playoff time for soccer, volleyball. It's fall sports playoff time with, winter sports right around the corner. I'm excited about it. Eagle, where I coached for 3 or 4 years, a bunch of those guys are on this Eagle team, and all my Meridian boys as well. I'm excited for both of them to have punched their ticket. We're excited for, a fun game this week. And guys, if we pick against you, take it as motivation to shut us up. We're okay being shut up. We like to be shut up, but be respectful about it, man. We're not here because it's not a personal thing. We're just doing what we're doing for you guys and trying to show as much love as possible, but we're giving our opinion. Shout out to all of our Meridian boys who wanted to bury me and Shane at midfield after they beat Rocky. We love y'all, man. Congratulations on that. But yeah, let's have fun with it. Always keep it clean. That's what we're about. And Guru, I appreciate you, man. You're amazing at what you do. I had to do the podcast last week by myself. Never again. I missed you. You were too good at it, bro.
You did a great job, man. Appreciate you, AJ. If you guys haven't followed us, I'll just make sure to put this up here. AJ's over at EBC_media on Instagram. He continues to grow that channel. Follow him over there. Boise Sports Talk. Ty's been blowing up the coverage all year long. He's expanded his coverage there, so go follow him there. Cherry's getting his highlight films and so forth. I would also encourage you guys, if you want some videography done for your businesses and so forth, hit up Cherry. He's got opportunities outside of just sports videography as well. So hit him up because Lane can get some stuff done for you. And if you guys want to check out my podcast, come follow me on my Instagram channel at Gametime Guru. I'll be posting stuff from my podcast there. I do weekly shows interviewing sports figures from all over the globe.
And
so
congratulations to you on your new venture.
I appreciate that, dude. So I'll give you guys a quick little update. I got a little bit of a gig hosting. So I'm going to be producing a podcast for a fight league that's out of Phoenix, Arizona. Stay tuned for that. It's called Freedom Fight Night. Tito Ortiz, Rampage Jackson, and Frank Mir are partnering in with the guy that I'm working for, the CEO. His name is Harrison Rogers, and they have created the United Fight League, and that's what they're trying to expand. It's going to be similar to Bellator or the PFL. The the second tier of MMA when it comes to like the UFC and the rest of the guys. And so they've created the UFL, and Freedom Fight Night's one of their promotions, but they're trying to do what we're doing here, but they're doing it in the mixed martial arts world. They're just trying to change the game and trying to do some new things. I'll be helping them with their podcast that they've got coming out. So pretty sweet. I'll give you guys more updates on that. Appreciate you, AJ. And for everybody out there, make sure you tune in. This is Gym Session. We'll be coming to you next week with another one. Take care.